Hello and welcome to the ROKER RAPPORT Matchday podcast. I'm your host today, Tom, and I'm here with a beautiful Ant. How's it going, Ant?
Very well, thank you very much. Yourself?
I'm cold. I might get the feeling we toes back eventually, but
We've warmed up a bit in the lovely Hilton Garden Inn again.
Yes, we're in my usual joint, so fingers crossed they don't start wanting to take rent off or a percentage of fees, because then we're going to be absolutely fucked.
I've been at this.
Right, so today's Bristol Rovers. I can't profess to know much about them myself, to be honest, as is the case with most League One teams. And what's your knowledge like on them, bud?
Well, I know they were pretty much in the playoffs until I think the manager left to go to Mansfield, and there was a big hoo-ha about it. Apparently he said he wanted to be closer to home, and then said something about that Bristol Rovers weren't giving them the right ambition and stuff, and they've dropped like a stone since they've got the new manager in. I think they won last week against Blackpool, which was the first win in 15, so no one knows. They'll probably hit form now.
That would be probably the most Sunderland thing ever. But then again, revitalised under Parkiola, I think everyone's feeling cautiously optimistic again.
Oh, definitely. I mean, we're coming to a game now where you're expecting to win. I think I'm expecting us to win comfortably today. And then we've got Fleetwood and Coventry in the week coming, which are going to be 2 hard games, so we need the 3 points today.
I was going to say today is a bit of a, so what I was seeing on the way, it's a bit of a distraction in comparison to the games that are coming up. As we were predicting, I was just like, you know what it is, I'll just take an easy 1 or 2-0 and just see the game peter out second half, because this game for me it doesn't seem like much is up.
We just want to do what we did against Rochdale, really put a professional first half in, blow them out the water, and then second half just sit back, make some subs, and then just take what we can get, really.
100%. So obviously on the team news front is obviously the well-documented injury to Bailey Wright, which is going to rule him out for the rest of the season, which means Wright's obviously nowhere near the squad. In his place we have Ali Mozturk. Take that one, Matthew. Wins a poll, wins out today. Not a fair contest though, because obviously Lynch is injured still, so it'll be interesting to see what happens when he comes back. But apart from that, it's rinse and repeat. Apart from the one change on the bench, is new lad Tommy Smith drafted in to replace the gaping void left by Ali Mozturk. So first of all, I'm going to say, what do you think about the Ozturk-Lynch situation? And then secondly, what are your thoughts on the new signing?
Well, I'm not saying this just because you're here, Tom, but I did agree with you. I prefer Ozturk.
He's a good lad. He's a good lad.
I do like Ozturk.
I'll slip you that $5 later.
Yeah. Sorry, Matthew, by the way, but yeah, I think he's a like-for-like replacement, isn't he, for Bailey Wright, who it will be a blow to lose him for the rest of the season because he's done really, really well. But Ozturk's, he's not put a foot wrong this season, has he, really? So it's fine. Tommy Smith, who's coming in, cracking signing for me. I think as soon as he gets match fit, you're probably going to play him from the start. You just look at the Ipswich fans on the forums saying, why do we not go in for him? He used to play for Ipswich, didn't he? I'm sure he scored past us as well a couple of seasons ago.
To be fair, scoring past us isn't, it's not a unique thing, is it?
No, it's not, but it's a good signing for League One, I think that. I think it kind of epitomises Parkinson's signings for Sunderland. They've all been relatively decent, haven't they? They've all been to fill positions where we need to fill. So, yeah, it's a really good sign for me.
I would agree. I think the most alarming thing for me is on a personal level is bewilderingly Ozturk coming in for Wright just seems sensible. And I think employing Tommy Smith, guy, a lot of experience at this level, but he's well cultured, well toured, not over the hill, is just a very sensible short-term signing.
You're just surprised no one else has done that, yeah. It's quite surprising.
But sensible signings in Sunderland don't usually go together. But in this situation, they've moved quickly to resolve it. It's been a sensible signing, and I think overall it's been a bit of a strangely positive trend for a side that not that long ago you just didn't seem to know where the next signing was coming from and whether it was going to be the signing we actually needed.
Especially during the week when we took that lad from Shields on trial, and then the scarf picture came on, it's just that lad from Shields, and then it's Tommy Smith, ex-Ipswich lad, well-travelled, well-cultured defender, available on a free. I'm surprised no one else has took him in our division, and I think it's good. It's quite a good coup for us, to be fair. And he'll do a job when he comes in.
It was a good spot from Chief Scout Gav as well.
Well done, Gav.
He put him in the notes, so well done, Gav. A little shout out there.
But, he probably knew about him.
He probably had some kind of inside line on Gav. He's always in the know. So I mean that's really it. There's nothing strange or startling going on in the world of Sunderland the past week or so. It's just been steady away, hasn't it?
It's too predictable, isn't it? It's a bit wrong. You know, we're not making wholesale changes or anything. You know, I'd still relatively the same side bar as to coming in. For me, I'd still give Lafferty a go ahead of White, but it's basically it's about Graham put today on the team news this morning. White's his number one. It's Parkinson's number one choice, so we can't argue.
Well, that's it. I suppose Parkinson is always going to have the argument as well. Is you don't fix something that's not broken. And at the end of the day, I think he's got enough credit in the bank now where if Wykes is number one, he's his number one.
Yeah.
And if we want Lafferty to start, that's fair enough. We can scream it from the rooftops, but we're just screaming into the void, really, aren't we?
I think White needs a performance this week. So last week, I thought we played very well, but he was poor. He was the only one I thought was, you know, had a bad game. Him and Gooch, but you know, Gooch has had 6 weeks of brilliance. So you can let him off for one, but White's been hit and miss. So I think it is a big game for him. I see him score early on just
Yeah, well, I see regularly, like, White when he's scored is a different player from White when he hasn't. He becomes a lot more stronger, a lot quicker and a lot more aggressive once he's got that confidence. And I think that I wouldn't see the same for Gooch. I just think Gooch is one of those. He's at the moment he's still a young League One player, and at the end of the day, you're in League One because you're not producing that level of performance, which he has done the past month, week in, week out.
Definitely.
So I think people need to be just acutely aware that players like Gooch, you know, maybe even to an extent Power and others, is while they are playing well, ultimately it's not going to last forever. But we've just got to be conscious, that when they do drop, that we don't get on the back, because they will come back and they will, you know, they'll hit those heights again. It's just, I think it's a fundamental flaw of League One players, really, isn't it? They are by definition
inconsistent. But you look at Milton Keynes Dons with Gooch, and Gooch was terrible all game and then pulled off that worldie. So that's epitomising in the Gooch, really.
He's taken on the McGeady role in a sense there, I think. As McGeady had the ability to be dross for an hour and have one moment of brilliance, and it would overshadow everything he's done there. That's not a criticism. I think you need that kind of mercurial nature from your wingers, because Maguire gives you it as well, doesn't he?
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, Maguire's 30 on, so has your bad game in him. So it's like say it's League One.
That's
They're
it.
not going to be world beaters.
Nah, they're not. So I suppose it's a bit of a subdued pre-match thing. There's not really that much to talk about, we're honest. We're just trying to flog a dead horse here.
For all the 2 listeners that's still tuning in, we do apologise. We literally don't have that much to talk about.
I know. It turns out when we've got nothing to complain about, we've got absolutely zero content. So I suppose it's just the final question before we sign off. Paint your colours to the mast. Score raise. What do you fancy?
I'm going to say 2-0. I think Bristol Rovers will be dangerous. We've got to nullify Park Harris. He's a good player. I'd have signed him in January, to be honest. I would have gone in for him, but I just can't see us conceding. So and I think we'll just pick them off. I think we'll score 2 in the first half. I'm going to say Lyndon Gooch and Max Power. Why not?
I like it. Stick your money on that, ladies and gentlemen. And he's like a betting guru. So we'll catch you at the end of the game. Hopefully another win for Parky's Wizards. We may see Angry Man back, we may not, who knows. So we'll just leave you to enjoy the rest of the afternoon.
See you soon.
So welcome back. I'm joined by Ant again. Hello, Ant.
Hello, Tom.
And I'm joined by Sam, who's worse for wear. Hello, Sam.
Hello.
Right, so Sunderland ran out 3-0 winners. Awful first half, really. I think that's the nicest thing we can say. Referee, probably one of the worst refs I've seen at the Stadium of Light for a long time. And I know it seems like we say that every week, but he really was just fucking awful. Second half, improved a bit. Stupid red card from Bristol really steered the game in one direction from then on in. I think it was Gooch, Charlie White rounding the keeper like a young Ronaldinho, and O'Neill finishing off with a spawny goal. So, and first off, what did you think of that today, mate?
Not the greatest. I think they came to it for a draw. They did not want to score at all, did they? They never had a shot on target all game. I thought we got in behind quite well, but the final ball was just lacking. Denver Hume, a couple of times he was knocked it across, nobody there to finish it. Other than that, we were huffing and puffing, needed something to happen. It didn't happen in the first half. Luckily enough, it did in the second.
So Sam, big turning point in the game was the red card for Bristol. I don't know who got sent off.
A goal.
Was it a goal? It was a goal. It was, well, there you go. It was a goal.
It was a goal.
Yeah, I was going to say it. A goal went. So what do you make of the red card incident? I mean, it was pretty straightforward for the ref, but a great bit of shithousery from Maguire, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's what he does best. He's obviously got in his head. And I think the red card helped, but I still think we would have won the game. It was all just about getting the first goal. And the first goal was a great goal, even though I don't think White meant the pass. I think he meant it for Dobson, but we'll allow it. And then I think after that it was just about, because as soon as they got the red card, there was no one even in our half for them. So it was just about getting the first goal and the 3 points. So.
No, I think, and can you agree with that?
Oh, definitely. I mean, Maguire's just seen him coming at him. Maguire's just literally looked across him, the lad nudged him out of the way, and then the lad's just kicked out. I mean, it was right in front of where I sit as well. It's just like, what on earth are you doing? And like I'd said in our little group while we were watching the match, saying it's probably the silliest red card I've ever seen in my life.
It was stupid. I mean, you see it in League One as well all the time, like little niggles and little kick-outs and that. And the goal missed every week, but it was just so obvious. Like he backlifted it like he was going to hoof Maguire about 50 yards. Like
there was another one on Gooch as well, about 5 minutes after.
It was sort of a push in the face, wasn't it?
He had his arm up.
So, I mean, we've just been talking off air there about how important that win is in terms of the league. There's a few teams who kind of dropped points. I know Rotherham got a last-minute winner. Going into Tuesday, Sam, what do you think the plan of attack's got to be on Tuesday?
It's a massive game Tuesday. I mean, they're on great form as well. I mean, they've just beat Portsmouth, and Joey Barton will be well up for the game, mind. So
he's not on the touchline, though, is he?
I knew there was questions about it, but even if it's the worst game ever, it's all about the 3 points. Because I think overall Fleetwood would be happy with a point over here, but the way they're going, it's the toughest game we've had since probably Portsmouth, really.
Yeah. I mean, is that 7 clean sheets in the last 8 games at home? And I think we've only dropped 2 points at home in the new year. So I think anyone who's coming to the stadium right now, really, you've just got to be looking to take a point. I suppose as well, getting back onto the terms of the game, contentious point where we were sitting, Wyke's performance today. I know he got a goal, I know he's rounded the keeper, but what were your general opinions of the performance?
I fear for him long term. It's like for a tall lad, he can't header the ball at all. You know, you expect a couple of times in the first half where they were like trying to like clear it, and Wyke's just not even making himself a nuisance at all. And I can't like. I know he scored. I was expecting foul. I well, only ran at the key, weren't you?
Yeah.
He scored. He did really well, but he was never gonna miss that. And I agree with Sam as well for the first goal. I thought he was passing it to Dobson.
It was definitely like that Altidore-esque touch for the Barini goal in the derby, wasn't it? A really nice thing to do though as well, and I think it's long overdue. We've obviously had episodes where we've been really critical of Phil Parkinson. Me and Sam have been on the same episodes multiple times saying, look, he needs to go. But today the South Stand really got behind Phil Parkinson, and he's definitely someone who's grown into the role. How nice was it on a personal level, first of all, to be wrong, and second, just to see the reaction Phil's now getting?
Well, I think the main thing is he's earned it as well. It's not just off the bat of a good result. He's powered through, and he's got his head down. He's worked behind the scenes and all sorts, and he's got the players fit, and he's had an ideology in his head, and he credit to him. I mean, we can sit on podcasts and say this and that, but there's nothing we would like more than to be proven wrong. And when we were all calling Parkinson out, we were all saying and thinking, hands up, I hope he does well and proves he's wrong, because there's nothing more than you want to just Sunderland to get promoted. So fair play to him, and I think it's right that we've got behind him, but he's definitely earned it as well.
Oh, certainly. Like, it's like I say, I always come back to say, would you have thought this on Boxing Day, where we're shouting for Kevin Phillips? You know, it's barely 2 months later and we're shouting Phil Parkinson gives a wave and all that. I mean, it's honestly such fair play to him, because he's not really changed anything, has he really? He's still kept on with the same formation, still kept on with predominantly the same players, and now it's just bearing results now. I mean, what he has done superbly is sorted that defence out, and we just do not look like we're going to concede a goal, do we? Even the day Ozturk comes in for Bailey Wright, you didn't think, you wouldn't have thought Bailey Wright wasn't playing. Ozturk just did exactly the same as what Bailey Wright did, just broke the game down. Jordan Willis again I thought was outstanding. He's the best defender in the league by a country mile, and it's just bearing fruit now, because now we've got our attacking players back, our attacking players firing again. We know we're going to score, and we're not really going to concede. It's going to take something special for us to concede, or something daft. You know what I mean? The daft stuff isn't happening anymore. It's such a fair play to them, mate.
Totally agree. Little shout out there for Sam's mum. Sam's come here to do the podcast, and the little diamond stood at the bar for him, and she brought him a nice cold pint.
She was asking.
Isn't that absolutely lovely? Oh, and she was like, well, why didn't you say yes? You dosser. No, we're too polite to accept a free pint here. We will not be bribed at ROKER Report. But if you're listening, you want a bribe, we'll just speak to Gav Henderson. Back to the point, yeah, I both echo your sentiments on Parkinson. I mean, there's a lot of people, especially at the moment, you see them on Twitter, on Facebook, go, oh, look, you've got egg on your face, so you're eating humble pie, and this, that, and the other. And I think, you know, fair play, but when you're making new content every week, all you can react off is what you're saying. And at the time, what we were saying was flat out not good enough.
I know.
It just wasn't.
It was relevant to what we were saying on the pitch at the time. It was a combination of 5 or 6 weeks of crap, to be honest.
Yeah,
well, look at it as well. We're like all Sunderland supporters here, and you know the amount that we get on Twitter, everyone we support Sunderland. We don't want our managers to fail. Exactly. You know, we want the team to succeed. We want to get promoted. And you know, when we were drawing 0-0 at home to the bottom of the team, Bolton, barely getting a shot on target against them, that is not good enough for a Sunderland club.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't, was it? I mean,
and now he's starting to win games. He's won us over, you know, and we're all happy again. But if he goes and loses the next 4 games, we're obviously going to criticise, aren't we? Because that's what
did you see his reaction after the goal as well?
Yeah,
I did. He was like trying to, do you know what, like the Atletico manager was doing during the week, getting the crowd up. It's the first bit of passion, well, not the first bit, but an outburst from Parkinson that I've seen, and in all that he's been in, to be honest, it looked like he knew we needed that first goal, and when we got it, he just let loose. And it's great to see that, man, because managers that do that are going to connect with our fans every time.
Definitely is what we are screaming out for. But I think, like, for me as well with Parkinson, like you said before, he earned it. And when people were lacing in and giving the 2 pence worth and that at the time, you know, football's an emotional game, and you're getting an emotional response from it. Like, it's just natural, you know, because all we want is for the team to just succeed, basically. So I think, you know, again, personally speaking, I think a lot of credit's got to go to Parkinson. He's had his back up against the wall, he's backed himself, and he's come out the other side. So I think all the plaudits Parkinson gets right now, he's absolutely worth it. And again, you're looking at the home form, you're looking at the run we're putting on, and it's absolutely fantastic. Like, you know, and I think a lot of people come Boxing Day were like, oh, not another match in a couple of days' time. And now everybody's looking forward to getting back out there. But, you know, you're seeing games prop up on a Tuesday, and you've gone from dreading having to leave freezing cold at 7:30 and that, not getting back into late, and now just can't wait. Like, how big a turnaround has it been?
Oh, you just weren't expecting it, were you? Like, it's probably been the biggest turnaround in our most recent history, really, from a manager being like literally dead and buried, and now literally 8 weeks later we're singing his name. You would never have saw that coming at all. And you know, it takes someone with a lot of sort of self-confidence in themselves to bring that around, and confidence in his ability and in like his methods in working. So, you know, like I say, fair play to him, and we're all on his side now. So you know, can him finish the job now? Yeah,
I suppose that's the main question. But a little side note as well is, me and Sam were on the podcast with Simon O'Rourke not long ago, and I don't know if you remember, but when we walked out, Simon O'Rourke, I think it was just after the Boxing Day defeat, and he went in on Parkinson, and he says, look, anyone going in on Parkinson, totally fair to do so. But when he walked out, he said something that rang true with me, and especially now, and he says, if Phil Parkinson comes back from this, I've never seen a Sunderland manager in all my time come back from this. So, I mean, if he does get the job done, I mean, really, we're looking at, I'm not going to say one of the best managers we've ever had, but we're looking at certainly one of the most dramatic turnarounds we've ever seen. Would you agree?
I think it would make him one of the biggest characters we've had, because usually, speaking from experience, once the crowd turns and you hear chants of sacked in the morning, I can't think of any managers off the top of my head that have recovered from that. And I think Bolton, for me, felt like his last game, you know, when you just get that feeling. A bit like I was at Lincoln away, Jack Ross's last game. But echoing what Anne said, really, I don't think even the most optimistic of fans could have saw this coming. So you've just got to, again, give him praise. And it's not, like we said earlier, it's not like we've just won a random game 3-0. He's earned this. We've won 4 in a row now, 4 clean sheets. And then even before Portsmouth, keeping clean sheets. And he's turned everything around, so to speak. So we've just got to continue with it. But he has earned the right to be our manager at this time.
Definitely. I think another thing as well is what he needs credit for is he's identified using power very well. I always felt power wasn't used properly under Jack Ross. I always felt he was too deep. There wasn't enough play actually went through him. And, you know, he's come in, he's give Power the captain's armband. And now when we're playing our best football, Power's always the first man to get his head on the ball and pick his head up. Do you think players like Power, I suppose Dobson recently, you know, Gucci Maguire kind of grown into his tenure as well as helping him out a bit there?
Certainly with Power, giving him the captain's armband, I think it's really riled him. Like, I think he's got this sort of second wind in his career. Like, coming towards the end of last season, start of this season, he was still the red cards. I still think was on his mind. He's getting into tackles now. Like I said with Dobson, I thought Dobson was superb today. He was absolutely magnificent. It was his best game in red and white top. We just look at the confidence in a lot of them. We look at Luke O'Neill now doing his little tricks that we never knew he could do. He's got a character in himself. I think we mentioned this last week, didn't we? He's got like a bit of character in himself now. All the players seem to be playing with this belief that, like, kind of this little bit of arrogance as well, like, oh, we're Sunderland, what are you going to do? You know what I mean? And that's lovely to see. That's what we should have been doing last season when we had the better players like Cottenham and McGeady. We should have been doing that with our shoulders puffed out, you know, like, come at us, we'll go and beat you 3-0, don't worry about it, you know what I mean? And like I said, that's just sentiments too, Parkinson too, his backroom staff, the coach that he's brought in, obviously Nick Allenby with the fitness. We've got to say that's Parkinson's best sign.
Oh, by a mile.
How fit they're like, even like today, like in the 90th minute, we're still trying to score. The game's finished, and we're still trying to score. We're still running after every loose ball. Just the difference in what, 2 months. You just kind of top it like.
Yeah, the thing is as well, when you build that positive culture, which he has done, and you see it across teams in all of world football. Once you've got that positive culture going, you've got that desire to win and that team unity, is nobody seems to get tired, nobody seems to get injured, everybody just seems to keep on driving on and driving on. And you do feel sorry for the lads on the bench. I feel, I say a bit sorry, but, I feel like maybe Semenyo is probably sat there thinking, shit, I'm not getting a run out here. Lafferty's joined, he kind of get in ahead of Wyke, and I'm just thinking, there's 3 or 4. Scowen, again, he's another one. He's not a bad player, but when these lads are so together and they're pushing on so well, I mean, apart from Wyke, who's a contentious issue, is there anyone you can realistically drop?
No, not really, and I think, echoing what Anne was saying there about the confidence and the little bit of arrogance, I think that's helped by Parkinson just putting so much faith in the players. I mean, you've starting the same 11 for God knows how many weeks now, even when it's Saturday, Tuesday, and you're talking about people like Dobson when we've all said he needs a rest, Parkinson still played him, so I think that's where the confidence comes from, and you can't really drop anyone really, and even if we're talking on Wyke, can you really drop a number 9 after he scored a goal? So
well, that's the thing, isn't it? It's difficult to drop someone when he scores.
Well, yeah. He's probably coming off and then we scored.
Lafferty was ready to come on actually, and then as soon as he scored. So just for one final point, then obviously we're riding a little bit of a crest of a wave. There's one question mark over the performance before today we touched on. Was Ozturk coming in for Bailey Wright. I know you mentioned there, Ran, that there was no discernible difference for you. For me, we're a little bit less cultured at the back, but again, I didn't see much of a difference. How did you make it, Sam?
No, I think it suits Ozturk to be in the middle of a 3 where he can just defend, boot the ball, he can just do his job. I see what you're saying, maybe a bit less organised, because we saw Bailey Wright's got a bit of a voice at the back, but no, I think Ozturk will slot that in nicely because he was unlucky to be dropped in the first place, so I think he'll just go back in naturally, to be honest.
Yeah, did you hear that one, Matthew? Have a bit of that.
Like I said, didn't notice a difference really. I thought he picked up a silly yellow, which as he does.
I mean, to be fair to him, it was a poor tackle he got done, but he took that yellow for the team. In fairness, like it had to be done because Willis and O'Neill were miles out of position.
But you look at like how comfortable it was for him today just to come in. Against like Bristol Rovers who are in a bit of a bad form, but they've got Johnson Clark-Harris, who's a top striker. He's one of the top scorers in the league, and he never got a sniff, did he? And it's just sentiments to how like confident these players are to come in and do the job. Like you look at Lafferty. If Lafferty had come on today for Wyke, he would have probably done his job, and they were just so confident in their abilities as well. Just to touch on the defence as well, like I say with Willis, I think Willis is the best defender in the league. I think he's absolutely magnificent. And in the last sort of 6 games, how good's Tom Flanagan looking?
I was just about to say that. Flanagan's been excellent. And a little note today, I thought some of his passing and the balls through that were putting in Denver Hume were absolutely fantastic.
One in the first half, wasn't there, when Hume got in a few times in the first half, but there was one in particular where Flanagan he was allowed to come forward and he waited and waited. And it looked like he waited too long, but he played an inch-perfect ball to Hume, running around the back of 2 or 3 defenders. And
I think we need to start tying a couple of these down now, like the likes of Flanagan, McLaughlin, who's kept his 8th clean sheet in 9 or whatever it is. It's like we need to start tying these down, like McLaughlin for the first goal. Given that 2 months ago, in the FA Cup first round against Shitting, when he let that go through his legs, he looked so slow and laboured. He gets the ball today, throwing it quickly out, and we score 4 passes later. We need to start tying some of these down, otherwise they're just going to get the heads turned, aren't they?
Yeah, I suppose the only danger is if you do give them contracts now when you tie them down on decent money and so on and so forth, might take a little bit of wind out of the sails, because I do get the feeling, especially since January's passed, you look at players like specifically Maguire, and I'm not suggesting he's doing it, but his performances since January are past have been absolutely excellent. So that's definitely someone there who's playing for a contract in the twilight of his career, because outside of Sunderland, I don't think he's going to find himself as big a club or somewhere where he's got the status he has. So, but I mean, we could go on all day about both the contract situations and how well certain individuals are playing and slotting into the side. Like, it has been a total turnaround.
Yeah.
It's been incredible, hasn't it?
Massively. It's like we said earlier, you couldn't have seen this coming on Boxing Day, could you?
It's just nice to see Tom under Jack Ross so negative and rightfully so. How positive you are now. You know what I mean?
I'm a changed man.
WhatsApp groups, he's like, there's nothing negative coming from Tom.
Tom was the first. Not a drink either, have you?
Nah, I haven't. I'm sober as a judge, and I'm riding the crest of a wave, baby.
The most, what was it you got called? The biggest arsehole in the South Stand.
The biggest.
He's so happy now.
The biggest in the South Stand, and there's a guy who stands there for 90 minutes who just chants get into them and fuck them up, and apparently I'm more annoying than him. So
I think I hear him.
That's that's pretty damning now. But like I say, it's just. I mean, again, we can say it 1,000 times, but hats off to Parkinson. He's actually made match days enjoyable again.
Yeah.
I will say as well, hats off to the fans as well. Like since the Boxing Days, once we got a couple of results, and everyone is now 100% behind the team. You're not getting any I know we were booed off a little bit at half time, but that was for the ref. In the second half when we were trying to get that first goal, the South Stand was getting right behind, starting to sing the songs and stuff. It's just so much positivity instead of just getting on the backs all the time. It is nice to hear, it is nice to see.
Yeah. I think everyone can echo that, and I think that's actually just a really nice place to leave it off. We've got a big game on Tuesday, which is it's a must win, and I think if we win that, then Sunday becomes a mustn't lose. And then after that, I think there's going to be a good place to take stock and see how realistically whether Sunderland can go up or not. So I'm going to just tie us down. One final question. Sam, promotion, whether it comes top, second, playoffs, yes or no?
Yeah. I think so, right.
And colours of the mast, go for it.
I said yes 3 weeks ago, didn't I, when we were on the pod when we had Kevin on. So I haven't changed my mind. I think we'll go up as one of the top 2.
Go on then. We'll have 3 yeses from here and we'll sign off. We'll catch you all next week.